Okay, so after being pestered enough by my own subscribers, I will give you one more video, even though I already told you in a private message that you already got your 15 minutes and that I did not exist on YouTube as a wailing wall for the overprivileged whites in the world's richest country. Obviously, you were upset that your last video to me was horrible, and I know for a fact that you can do better than that. But noticing that your claims of a subtext wasn't backed up by any examples. I don't daily claim North Korea is better than capitalism. I say socialism is better than capitalism. And by that token, I could say there's a subtext to every one of your videos that says imaginary libertarianism, the economic system that doesn't exist, is better than everything. The claim was North Koreans don't have cell phones. I provided proof that they do. And you are there trying to make it out like it was some comparison between North Korea and capitalism. This is something that you are reasserting again to justify the ridiculous video that you made. I point out the contradictions and the inhumanities in capitalism, showing an alternative through socialism and communism. It is not comparing North Korea with its own unique situation. This is something you have invented in your own mind because that is what you think. That is why you stopped talking about cell phones in this video and not backing up what you were saying in the previous one. I pointed out how I was not making comparison to anything, in fact just showing how something that was said isn't true. And then when I pointed out how your video didn't have anything to do with what I was saying, you failed to back up your original point. Because you couldn't, because it had nothing to do with what I was talking about, which is why in this video you've changed what you're saying and you've changed the topics, even going so far as to make it about me. You called Maoism reformed Marxism. No, that's not even close. That's a pretty ignorant opinion. There is Marxism. Lenin made contributions to that. Then it was Marxism-Leninism. And then Mao made contributions on top of that. It became Marxism, Leninism, Maoism. It's not Maoism, it's reformed communism. It's not an entirely new thing. It's just theoretical additions to the theory. It's not a whole new theory. But you don't know that because you don't know anything about Marxism, or at least anything that didn't come off the Mises Institute. And then you go on to say, well, North Korea has such a totalitarian state, but communism is there's no government and there's no system. So how do you justify that? Because actually, there's a transition period between capitalism and communism. It's called socialism, where there is a state, where there is money, where there is a body of armed men, to suppress the reactionary forces until we can develop our consciousness to a point that where we don't need a state anymore. That's why it's still there. You've taken socialism and claimed it to be communism, or at least confused the two and didn't know why one existed and the other didn't, because you don't know Marxism. You don't know that it's a transitional period. And yes, I did use Adam Smith's labor theory of value because, as you put it, Marx's labor theory of value is based on the one put by Adam Smith. That's where he got it from. He took it, reanalyzed it, and this was his theory. That's why. And he said, I never claimed that communism was based on Adam Smith, or that exploitation is based on it. I said Karl Marx got his idea for the labor theory of value from Adam Smith's. Altered it to the way that he saw the world and the productive relations that existed. I never claimed that communism came from Adam Smith. You invented that. You made that up. Or maybe you got it off the Mises Institute or something. I never said that. You saying that I said that is a lie. You are a liar for having said it. I never said that. But then again, you don't understand Marxism at all. And then you say there's not a communist in their right mind that would support North Korea. Well, that's your uninformed opinion and ad hominem attack. Perhaps you should look up the various Juche societies or a multitude of communists who do. If you can't demonstrate a basic understanding of Marxism, which you just failed to do, there is no chance you could ever understand the Juche idea. So don't go making insults to make up for your lack of an understanding on the Juche idea's take on socialism. In truth, many Marxists don't consider Juche to be socialist or Marxist at all. It's called a difference of opinion, whereas you believe that all Marxists force everybody to think the same way and everybody has the same opinion, when clearly that's not true. I call it a theoretical contribution that has good points and bads. You claim as a criticism that North Korea commonly executes people publicly. Of course, you've not provided any source for that, but I tend to think it's true. Not to say it doesn't happen, because I've seen them. And I've seen the video, the one that you play right here in your video, where a man was shot for sneaking women out of the country. You see, that's the description that you get from people talking in the video that you cut out of your broadcast of that video. You cut out the part where they were talking about it, because I have seen the unedited footage, or at least the part of the footage that wasn't edited by you. The guy was executed for sneaking women out of the country. What kind of person sneaks only women out of the country? A sex trafficker. A person who is sneaking women over to the third world, or even the second world, or even in some cases the third world, to use as sex slaves. Frankly, people who take women and sell them into sexual slavery deserve to be shot, because they're scum. Oh, I know, prostitution isn't wrong, or... Now, while on the topic of executions, let's talk about that. Communism isn't pro or anti-punishment, and there are various opinions on the subject. Communism in the end seeks to abolish the entire prison system, so that I would think in the end communism was going to get rid of the death penalty. Cuba has taken its last person that was sentenced to death row off of it in 2010. I think it was 2010. And is now seeking to abolish it altogether. There's nobody on death row in Cuba anymore, because they're going to the point where they're going to get rid of the death penalty. However, your United States, capitalist America, I know, not real capitalism, just how it actually exists in real life, is one of the greatest executors today. In fact, probably the only industrialized first world nation that does. As well as your country's reputation for executing the mentally handicapped. And in several famous cases, people were being executed who couldn't even understand that they were being executed. They didn't even know that they were being executed. In that regard, you are a disgusting country who executes people who can't even understand they're being executed. You kill the mentally handicapped. You have your own little eugenics program going on. It's not actually a eugenics program, it just really, really looks like it. And then you go back to your state argument again. Of course, North Korea is a strict authoritarian state. What you don't know about Marxist theory is that the state is just used as a mechanism to transition to communism. Capitalism, socialism, communism is a transitional period for the reasons that I've already explained. It's right here. It's right here in the Communist Manifesto, the most basic and fundamental text that you obviously didn't read, because it's right here. You didn't read it because you don't know anything about Marxist theory. If you wanted to, and you wanted to be intellectually honest about it, you would have. Now, going back to the cell phone issue again. No, you can't make international calls, and I don't support that. However, that was not the point I was trying to make. I was trying to make the point that they did exist. You were still trying to change what I was saying in order to justify your humiliating, unsolicited response. What you are deliberately failing to take note is that your capitalist government is spying on your domestic and international calls all the time. It pops up in the media every day, but that's not real capitalism, even though it actually functions and you actually are being spied upon by your own government. And no one can pretend that isn't happening. You overall claim in this video reply of yours that I support all the things North Korea does. That is not true, and I have stated in more than one of my videos that is not true. Now I know you must have seen it. You would have to have seen my other videos. You really couldn't have been so blatant in just seeing the one video and snapping into an emotional reaction and making that video in reply, which is exactly how it looks. That is an incorrect position that I have never held, and I have had my criticisms of North Korea for that. I do not support everything they do. I have never said that I support everything they do. That is a lie created by you. And please don't complain about what my subscribers have said in your comments section, or I'll be required to bring up all the death threats and anti-Semitism that I got from yours. It's a wonderful crowd you have. Now you're going on about permissions to own certain things, and again, it's one of those things I don't support, but you continue to assert that I do. Again, look at your own country and the government permissions you need for that. To a lesser degree, yes. But then again, you could do what I do, and that is go around the whole system of needing government permission. I have a personal conveyance without state authority over it. I literally cannot be given a ticket under the law. I have no provincial issued license plate. I have no driver's license. I do not pay a single cent to an insurance company, those vultures. Instead, I drew up a bond with the Bank of Canada, the central bank. The central bank works for you if you know how to use it. I know how to live without the state interfering in my life to a degree. My car is removed from the Highway Traffic Act. The Highway Traffic Act is what gives jurisdiction to the police over my car. They no longer have that authority. If you spent as much of your intelligence on researching the law and how it works, you could be doing this too. Instead, you waste your intelligence on being a crybaby on the internet. You are intelligent. I am not taking anything away from you in that regard. I am not putting you down. I am not calling you stupid. You are an intelligent person, and I do respect that. You could be doing this too, minimizing state authority over your life. But you're not. I go into court and fight for my rights against the government. I have no lawyer. I argue my cases myself. I file my paperwork myself with the assistance of my roommate, who is not a lawyer. What do? You go on the internet and you pick fights with people online. You don't know the first thing about defending your rights. Now we've moved on to the propaganda portion of your video, the part where you assert, quite fraudulently, that people in North Korea think their leaders have supernatural powers. They don't think that. That's baseless and often uses completely fabricated examples or an unnamed South Korean intelligence. I can do that too. I have an unnamed Canadian intelligence source that says libertarians murder and rape children. And there's a whole huge massive conspiracy behind that and the government's covering it up. There you go. I've made an absolutely ridiculous claim citing an unknown source, government source, from a country that's not on good terms, and no, our countries aren't on good terms right now. I've quoted several people who I know. That guy that we do know, Super North Korea, he's been there 7 times. I've talked to people in the Juche study group or the Korean Friendship Association. No one thinks that. I would also like to point out at this time that one of the so-called sources for the Wikipedia article on that uses a comedy article from the Young Turks. It has since been removed because I went and checked back just before doing this video and they had changed it. But the source they originally gave is still active. A link to that is in the description. But then again, it's Wikipedia, and anything on Wikipedia is a whole different set of problems. This is akin to me saying Americans really believed George Washington couldn't tell a lie. No, I'm serious. Americans actually thought the man was incapable of lying. They thought a politician couldn't lie. They're fucking stupid, to quote you. Or that based on the media that Chinese people think, oh, by the same token, I could say that Chinese people think that their fighters from like 100 years ago could really pull off Matrix-style fighting moves. It's in every movie, so they must really think that that's true. By that token, you know that movie Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter? Americans really think Abraham Lincoln fought vampires. No, I mean they really think that. They made a whole movie about it. They made a whole propaganda video to teach everybody about that. By that same measure, I could say a good majority, almost half the population of the United States, believes God created them from a pile of clay and that the world was created in 7 days. I could also point out that the United States is a country where the people are so fucking stupid, to use your own words, that there's the greatest percentage of the population that believes in angels. Or how about this? The fact I have seen American textbooks that literally claim creationism as fact. And that's your country. So I really don't know where you get off calling anybody stupid. Where do Americans get off calling anyone dumb? You have one of the absolute worst education systems in the first world. Your knowledge of science, mathematics, and language lags behind practically all of Western Europe. Practically. I don't want to get a video reply saying that I claimed it was behind all of Europe. After that, you moved on to the subject of democracy. You don't really say anything but call me a liar and do nothing to show that what I said was supposedly untrue. And now we get to this video. This is a good one where you play that. It's actually the video I was referring to earlier where the man was publicly executed, and you say in your edit of the video that it doesn't say why he was being executed. You don't say why. But it's actually in the video. You edit it out where they publicly say why he's being executed. That's just misleading and dishonest. He was executed for trafficking women, not both sexes, just women to escape the country. And I'd also like to refer back to the part about Americans, executing mentally handicapped people. Capitalist US executes people that don't even understand that they're being killed, or that the justice system in the capitalist US favors throwing black people behind bars. Privatize that. You have the highest incarceration rate of any country in the world as a proven fact. And you're calling other countries totalitarian. And not to mention these just happen to end up a majority black. But then again, this is like one of those racial realist moments because they're just keeping it real, dog. I'm not saying you're a white supremacist. I'm saying the system is white supremacist. You've got the highest incarceration rate of any country in the world in a capitalist country in a private prison system. And the private prison system always makes it worse. And then calling other people totalitarian. Oh, and never forget the usual dishonest assuming that it's always done. That all people in North Korea are in jail for disagreeing with the government, and that nobody ever breaks the law. No one steals, no one rapes, no one murders. Human nature is so bad in your view, the capitalist view, but apparently no one in a communist country does anything bad. Remember that when you consider your own highest in the world incarceration rate. People break the law in North Korea, and that's why they go to jail. The same reason people go to jail in any country. But instead, this abstract idea is created where everyone in prison, even to the ridiculously completely baseless numbers that claim that they're just there because they disagree with the government and that they remain there for generations. It's ridiculous. Mind you, the sex traffickers are sending women frequently to the US to be sex slaves and prostitution. Also, that women in the US are sex trafficked to Asia sometimes for the same reason. I could also point out that sex trafficking is a business driven by the profit motive, but you'd go back to the not real capitalism thing again. To finish off your video, you claim that I apologize for any of it. I never have. That is a lie straight out of you. I apologize for nothing of the sort. I am not responsible for it, and I am personally against the death penalty, which is something you didn't even know about me. I don't want any country to have the death penalty because I think it's just greasy. Just killing people out of some kind of having a sheen of it being official, having come from a government. There's something just very greasy about that. There's a difference between that and killing somebody in a war or even killing somebody in self-defense. Having the state do it, it just seems tremendously wrong to me. So to claim that I apologized for it is an outright lie. I never said North Korea was great. I said that it was not what the Western media portrays it to be. You are a liar. By your logic, you are an apologist for over the 100 million Native Americans that were killed to gain access to the resources that they lived on, or the 150 million Africans who were killed in the slave trade. You know, an actual business, like it was an actual profit motive enterprise, slave trading, to found the nation that you're in, and to a large degree the nation I am in as well, and both their privileged positions. Instead, libertarians deny that those events contributed to the privileged position that the United States and also to a degree that Canada also has. It's not real capitalism. Real capitalism wouldn't buy and sell these things, let alone labor power, right? And companies never slaughtered indigenous peoples to get their resources, right? This actually continues to this day. You are dishonest. Listening to your fake outrage over that is disgusting. Interestingly, you resorted to 9 ad hominem attacks, and then you say you no longer wish to speak to me ever again after I already told you several times not to contact me, and then you came into my blog TV room. You are a liar, and then you accuse me of accusing you of flagging someone else's videos. Remember this, you came after me. You made a video to me. You started this whole thing seeking my attention. You say in your video you want nothing to do with me ever again. You begged for my attention. You sent me multiple messages trying to get it after you made your ridiculous video on cell phones. Now what? You're going to say that I'm bothering you or that somehow you're a victim? Maybe, I'm not even sure about that. When in fact, you were harassing me. You kept sending messages to me, seeking my attention. I don't go around making videos trying to start fights with people for the sake of trying to look like a tough guy, if that's what you're doing, or just to create content. My content speaks for itself, and I don't have to resort to petty high school drama to get viewers, like seemingly everyone else on YouTube. In case anyone hasn't noticed, I'm a YouTube partner. And I did it without being a drama queen. And I did it without being a pathetic reply channel. Without re-uploading other people's videos with commentary like Ray William Johnson. Without being a paid subscription service like Lee Dorn. Without uploading nothing but video game footage like so many people. I earned my spot here through a sheer 2.5 years of hard work. Standing outside in the middle of the winter at night at 3 o'clock in the morning with H1N1 illness, trying to upload something through an unsecured wireless connection because I didn't have any internet. Sick with a flu 3 o'clock in the morning in the winter, in the dead of winter, trying to find a connection to upload. I earned my spot here through hard work. I didn't have a privileged position coming in. And not exploiting others like the capitalist class. Not being a view whore with no original content bitch like so many other YouTube partners. This is the last video you are getting. No more 15 minutes from me. I've only done this video because my subscribers wouldn't stop asking me to. And now I've seen you for the liar that you are, saying you don't want to hear from me. You begged for my attention, even when I said I didn't want to hear from you anymore. I had to block you because you kept sending me messages. Remember that. You are completely ignorant of Marxism. You're continuing to lie about what I said. You are continuing to lie about the positions that I hold, and you mislead your own viewers. You harassed me through messages and attempted to do so through blog TV, and you have the gall to say you don't want to hear from me? That is pathetic. You are butthurt over the ridiculous video you made, and you're trying to save face. Grow up. Go ahead. Make a video reply to this and do exactly the same thing over and over again. Try to get away from the whole cell phone thing rather than just admitting that you were wrong. Try to make another argument about somebody that wasn't even in this video to try to make it continue. Go on and prove your ignorance of even basic concepts of Marxism. And then go on and make more lies about positions that I hold. This is it for you. You do not get any more videos. You have proven yourself not only to not be able to understand the most basic concepts, but you have proven yourself to be a liar. I don't want to hear from you ever again.